Today we are joined by the owner of Southwest Holsters, co-owner of Obsidian Industries, and then also the host of the Southwest podcast. James, I don't even know your surname because nowhere on social media could I find it.
No one knows my surname, that's why.
Okay.
I stay conspicuous.
You're James.
I'm James. Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming through. I really appreciate it.
No, it's been a long time. We talked about it for a little bit.
Yeah.
I've seen you interview some of my friends.
Yeah.
And like-minded people. You've had Richie on, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Travis. So you've had the two in the gun world and the bow hunting world, the eloquent ones. I'm more of the sledgehammer version.
Well, I'm glad you're here. We get a variety.
Because I watched Brian's and he's very well spoken for a killer.
He is very well spoken. I genuinely didn't know.
Yeah. Brian's one of those people you don't realize what he speaks like and how he delivers things until you actually sit down and talk to him.
Yeah.
And I've known Brian on and off for a little bit. Recently got a bit closer. And Trav, again, I've known Travis. I knew Travis back in the days where he's working in gun shops. And it's actually due to me is where he's now working and stuff. So yeah, it's cool to see people like grow. Like I'm not a fitness guru, like it's not my thing. Like, but I love watching people do cool stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like I watch you go off and do your mad runs and like it's
but that's also, so you mentioning that is what also interests me with, going out and bow hunting or hunting with a rifle or whatever, is being submerged in nature and being exposed to the elements. And that's why I like the trail running more than road 100%. Running is, the adventure aspect of it. And, that's what draws me to stuff that you do is, okay, yes, I've never killed an animal, but I do want to.
Yeah. You're open to the idea of it.
Yes, absolutely. I've had discussions with mates, going out and, selecting a particular animal to hunt. I've, was going to go on Travis's show on his YouTube channel and do something with him. Hopefully that still happens.
Yeah, that's cool.
But it's the adventure aspect, and that's also what I can appreciate. And I think you also like to subjugate yourself to difficult situations and difficulty.
I think, look, I'm a father as well. Like, recently this discussion's come up a lot. I think, and you hear people like Joe Rogan and you hear, all these guys that I surround myself with and admire to a certain extent and respect. The common denominator is you, for instance, love going out and trail running. I think that's my idea of hell, okay? But if you said to me, cool, there's a Inyala up on top of that mountain, go kill it, and it was 36 degrees, I'd go running up that mountain. So, for me, like I'm trying to actually get a lot fitter and go into the gym and stuff. And the only reason I'm doing it is because I am getting older. I do feel it more when I'm out in the bush. I am small. I've always been small. I've never been able to put weight on. So for me, my fitness is not to look, you look like a specimen of a human being. I don't care what I look like. It's functional. Can I carry my weight up a mountain? My legs are bust up. I've been in motorbike accidents and all sorts of stuff. So, I'm starting to feel it a little bit. So for me, I have to drag myself to the gym, whereas people like you enjoy it. But as vice versa, I think it's one of those things that we all high-performing individuals that I know, that I respect, whether it's in the business world, whether it's in the fitness world, whether it's in the hunting world, the one common denominator is they all like doing hardship. They all like having something difficult in their lives. And I think, this society's become, and hunting's so frowned down upon by so many people now, and they don't understand it. It's nothing, for me, I've got a new chick and we were talking about it the other day because she doesn't understand it. She's not adverse to it, but she doesn't understand it. I'm going off to Australia hopefully next year. And when I say I'm going into the middle of nowhere, it's a 5-day drive to get to where we're going. And then it's a 2-day drive for the amount of land that we're going to be in. The local hospital is a 3-hour flight. It's as wild can be.
I assume you're obviously going hunting.
Yeah. So me and my best mate who was on my podcast, Dexter, he moved to Australia. So sometime next year we're going to go up there. And I mean, the guy who owns the plot of land has to fly 45 minutes in a helicopter to get supplies for food. So, and she can't fathom it. To me, that's my idea of a dream. There's no one around. And I think, I've always been an outdoorsy guy. I spent a lot of time on farms and shooting in England and growing up in that kind of country lifestyle. So for me, it's always one of those, one of those things whereby it's, it's either in your blood or it's not. And I think once you do it, someone like you'll either go, oh, that was fun, or you'll be addicted to it. I know a lot of guys who have been in your kind of realm of stuff, like very sports orientated. They tried hunting and they didn't like it. For me, it's not about killing the animal. I've had some of my best trips, most memorable trips. I've never killed anything.
So what aspect of it then do you enjoy the most?
Yeah. As savage as this sounds, I like the fact that if I die in that bush, we are not designed anymore to be living off the land and walking around in dangerous places. Like, we're just not designed. The world's so soft now. Everything's mollycoddled, everything's
even
accessible.
us that want to try and make life a little bit more difficult.
You still get home at night, you're getting your nice warm bed, and you've got your cup of tea. Your electricity's there. You've got a fucking 50-inch TV. Like everything's accessible on one of these. Life's soft, and it's nice to be in a place where you're like, you are actually bottom of the food chain. It sounds mad. Like, I don't take a gun in the bush with me. I only go with a bow. And I've had some really close calls with some big animals, and been stalked by a leopard, and come face to face with a Cape buffalo, face to face with puff adders, literally, on the ground crawling, and stopped, and one's here. And I like the aspect of, if I die there, that kudu's going to carry on crossing that road. I'm irrelevant. I am completely irrelevant. And like, whether or not we like it, as men, we have an ego, especially people like me and you. Like, you want to look good, you want to feel good, you want to be something. It's nature in its most primal aspect of modern living. And it's very hard, I got to remind myself that I am actually fuck all. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on here, but
you can say what you feel.
But yeah, so like, for me, in my world, so many people reach out to me, and you've got to really ground yourself. And I think getting out there is somewhere where you just get, it's like you running the trails. Everything's turns off. I'm the most peace. I'm at, I've been through some hardship over the last couple of years. And, like, for me, just being out in the outdoors, and sometimes with friends, sometimes without. I actually hunt more by myself than I do with friends. And if I am hunting with friends, they have to be very close friends. Guys that I don't have to look after, but B, have the same determination and outlook on hunting as I do. Richie, Warren, Travis, Rourke, Dexter. I don't, I'm not a guy that will take newbies or someone fresh, or like, I go out there for a reason. And, if we go to a hunting camp, me, Richie, Rourke, and Warren, or whatever, we'll all sod off at 5 a.m, our own way, and do our own thing. It's more nice just to have something to come back to in the evening. Because evenings are very lonely in the bush. You sit there like, I don't know what to do. Like, do you know what I mean? I can't be hunting.
Especially our mollycoddled,
100%.
Nature of, when we get home from a hard day's work, we can watch TV, we can do whatever. When you're in the bush, what can you do other than maybe just
knackered.
Talk to your friends.
To be fair, most of the time you'll get back, you'll cook some food, make a fire, get into bed. You're up at 4 a.m. and off running around in the African bush. And it's not a place for fucking wimps. Like, it's just not. It's hard. It's, I come back even on easy hunting camps, and you're covered in scratches and cuts, and it's one of those things. I think unless you I talk about it on my podcast quite a lot, unless you do it, and you either love it or you hate it. But if you love it, it's in your blood. Like, Africa's in my blood. I've been here 9 years nearly now. Oh no, 8.5 years now. And it's in my blood. I'll never leave, for the exact reason that I can go to the bush. Like, there's nowhere in the world.
And that's also what I don't understand about people that want to leave South Africa. I understand, people saying to get more, to be able to afford a different income, but also then your lifestyle, your property size is going to reduce. All of these things are going to reduce. You might not be able to afford a car. You're going to have to take public transport. Yes, public transport works, but then you don't have your own car. No. All of these things. I mean, I would never leave South Africa.
No.
Unless there's a massive opportunity somewhere else where at least the level of lifestyle I can have is similar.
I don't think it can be. I think Australia is probably, You know, I'm fortunate. I've traveled most of the world. There's very few countries I haven't been to. I've lived in several. I grew up in Asia, through my father, who was ex-Air Force and then a pilot. You know, I literally have been. We were adding it up the other day. 64 countries, something crazy. Like
that's a lot.
And South, I love this country. Everyone wants to leave, and I understand it. Like, if you came to me and you're not adverse to violence, you're not adverse to being a bit streetwise, you're not adverse, but you're extremely intelligent and you want to go into finance, cool, go live in London, mate. You'll make a shit ton of money. But me, I mean, I'm from the tattoo industry. Look, I went to private schools. I had some of the best, I went to schools with princes. Like, I was never inclined to be going down that road. It was just never my way. I never want to be a lawyer. I never want to be a doctor. Everyone I went to school with is a lawyer, doctor, high-end bankers, I was always creative, and then I found tattooing. I also have a bit of a tainted past in the UK, but so I ended up in tattooing, and then the holster industry kind of just is one of those things. I don't do things unless I enjoy them. Like we were just talking previously before turning the cameras on. Like I don't do the I was actually signed to a network and blah blah blah, and I never really cared. I don't really care. I just want to sit down and talk to interesting people and. I think knowledge, I've always, one of my biggest factors is knowledge is power. And doing something with you and lurking in here and learning things and getting to meet someone new. I mean, we've met once before, but like getting to talk to you. And, I think it's just, it's almost a therapy session. We just said this a minute ago. It's kind of like that chill out session because we're both busy men. Like it's constantly go, go, go. And just to sit down and chat to someone. And also, I think it's one of those things you take away perspectives. And I think, the more time you spend around people that are interesting, the more perspective you get on life.
And I think that's a big thing is people living in their echo chambers or people not being willing to speak to someone that has a contrary view or a different, I mean, I've seen, I also went to a private school where it's pretty much, this is the way you get taught, this is the religion, this is the that. And it's just one-sided of everything. If your marks aren't good, you're probably not going to be successful. If you don't believe this, your views are wrong. Then you go to varsity and you're exposed to the real world. Then you leave varsity and you're exposed to the real world even more. And you understand that you can only grow as a person when you are willing to maybe question your beliefs, to then understand someone else's point of view and hear what they have to say. Because if you are too scared to hear someone else's point of view because you've maybe fearing there's some doubt that you may be having about what you believe. And I think, having conversations with people that are like-minded in a progressive way and then also who don't agree with you and also being able to have those conversations with people that you don't agree with.
No, 100%. My granddad said to me when I was a young boy, he said, everything's your fault. So it's that simple. Anything you do in life, everything's your fault. And I didn't understand it. And it's from conversation to success to failure to everything's your fault. And I think we live in this world where we are so, I mean, South Africa in some terms even worse, race is such a big thing here. And it was such an eye-opener for me coming from the West. The amount of poverty versus the amount of rich in this country, it's so segregated. And me especially, like I was into hunting in the UK. Like I used to go out bird shooting and do a lot of stuff like that, but it was never really prominent. It was never really kind of what defined me as a human. Like the one thing I want to do for the rest of my life, which I will bow hunting, I'll wheel me into a fucking hide when I'm in a wheelchair. Like I won't stop until I can't pull a bow back and then I'll figure another way out. So for me, and hunting's one of these things. It's probably the most controversial. Two things that I'm in, like guns and hunting, two controversial things with life. Why do you need a gun? Well, it's really simple. The only thing that really is going to stop a bad guy who wants to kill you is you and your ability to kill him. And there's a lot of people that have guns that shouldn't have guns, in my opinion. I think everyone should have the right to have a gun, but I don't think everyone has the mentality to have a gun. I come from a fairly violent background. Violence is not a thing to me. It's not a threatening me with violence is like, okay, cool. It's like giving a fat kid cake. Do you know what I mean? Like, all right, I'm down.
Yeah, I'm comfortable.
I'm comfortable around it. And don't get me wrong, like, up until a year a bit ago, I'd never shot anyone. I'd never been in a big, I'd been stabbed. I'd been around knife crime. I'd seen people stabbed, seen people die. But it wasn't like I wasn't directly involved, and I got in a situation and we ended up getting a big gunfight, and I ended up, taking a couple of dudes out. My post versus pre-gunfight, like, violence thing, like, I wasn't bothered by the violence, and I didn't lose sleep over it. And they're bad dudes. They're going to do bad shit and tough shit. But for me, it was more the reality, like the reality of, like, your version of reality of hunting versus my reality is different because I've done it. When you go do it, you'll be like, oh, I get what they're saying now. And, everyone wants to be a gunfighter until you get in a gunfight. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is not fun. I don't want to be in that situation again. I'm not going to put myself in that situation again because I don't think there's anything big, and I don't think there's anything clever. But the problem is you don't have the mentality, you're never going to win. You can be a really good I know some really good shooters, like IPSEC level shooters, that can outshoot me, but they won't outkill me.
Just look at the Olympics now. Those people that are shooting, they can be excellent accuracy,
but they haven't got it up here.
Put someone pointing a gun at them as well.
And they're just going to run away scared because they haven't got that mindset. You hear a mindset being talked about amongst people like Richie and that lot in the fighter world, and even the hunting world, even your guys, the trail runners, and, there's a mindset you have to be able to adapt. You could get a really fit guy and tell him to go run trails. If he hasn't got the mindset to understand how I'm going to run a trail and what you're going to have to go through mentally, he isn't going to run a trail. It doesn't matter if he's fit or not. His ability is there, but his mindset's not there. So for me, it's kind of like, it's exactly the same thing with everything in life. If you're not, we all do it. We all get up in the morning. Some mornings we don't feel right. We don't feel like working. That day's shit. It never ends well. Do you know what I mean? That day never, ever ends well. Even good stuff can happen, but you still have that kind of, So for me, it's like, it is that thing of, and I think we're raising little girls. Like, I think the whole world, like, me and my ex split up. We have 2 kids together. And my little boy he's a little boy. He wants to climb trees and do mad shit. And
he should be allowed to.
Exactly. Unfortunately, the women in this world have now got to the point where he'll take him off the slide, and rather than let him climb and fall.
I was actually, literally, that was one of my questions. Do you think that we are, like, do you think there's like an actual, plan to make men weak? Or do you just think it's kind of something that's kind of, okay, well, it's easier when men are weaker. Okay, Disney's a big company. Okay, let's make all our women strong, all the men weak in the shows, all the men are dumb. Let's paint this picture to society. Because if you look at modern television and movie shows, to a large degree, it's the woman is the hero or the archetype that you strive for, and the man is the stupid one, the idiot, the clown, has more problems than the woman. And that's where TV shows are going. If you look at, like, let's look at superhero shows. If you look at, I don't even watch it, Madam Web was the new Spider-Man woman one, where it was just Spider-Woman. And yes, have Spider-Woman, cool, but it wasn't well received at all. If you look at all these new shows where it's just woman dominant and then the men are made to look like idiots, they don't do well. So I think society also is kind of realizing, okay, we can't.
I think society's bouncing back.
I do, and I think COVID helped us. Or maybe post-COVID, it was at its worst, and they maybe tried to capitalize on people's vulnerabilities. But then now the world is kind of like, okay, we can't actually trust what the government says all the time. Yeah. We can't do all of these things that we are told are right.
I think it's pre that though. I think the world became soft because you didn't have to defend from your neighbors coming to try and take your land and cut your head off and rape your wife. Like,
so would you say,
like, it's just a human, like, evolution of progression.
100 years almost,
even longer. Yeah, World War I was what, 60 something odd years ago. Back home, in World War I, everyone banded together, but it was still an era of toughness. There was still shortages of food. There was men going to fight on the front lines to defend for something that they actually believed in. 100 years before that, you were getting invaded by people on horseback. The Mongols owned, 90% of the world. The Roman Empire. I think it's just an evolution of human progression due to technology.
Yeah.
I think that's
we live in the easiest time
to be alive.
Yeah.
Easier, without a shadow of a doubt. Even if you're poor, it's the easiest time. All right, because even the poor can get hold of food relatively easy. If you were poor before, you starved to death.
Yeah.
And yes, there are places in the world that's happening, but we're talking about, South Africa, the Western world. And I think it's just, it's almost a Darwinistic theory of just softness. And I think that softness has created this crap that you see on Disney. And
actually, I was having a thought last night. So if we look at evolution, irrespective of whatever version of evolution people want to believe, this is the reality. As a society, we can further our seed. We can continue as a human race if we have a tight-knit community, people that look after each other, close-knit families, all of those things. If we look after the weak, if we support the vulnerable and bring them up, we have a stronger, more thriving society.
Yeah.
So my view is okay, well, maybe there's overpopulation. Let's not encourage family. Let's not encourage, two-parent household. Let's not encourage all of these things that then do provide a healthier, more thriving society. So let's take, we know we thrive better with community.
We're tribalistic.
The more you're with
mammals.
Your girlfriend, the more you're with your friends, the happier you feel, the healthier you feel, the more you want to push and work harder, the more you want to
100%.
support. And society today is kind of painting the picture of even the lone wolf. The woman can do it all by themselves. All of these things, which then don't actually help us in the progression of evolution.
The growth of society. And I think that's a capital. You can look at it from a tin hat theoristic kind of way of people going, yeah, cool, the people that run in the world don't want everyone united, which is, it's not really tin hatty. Do you know what I mean? It's a capitalist world. The richest people in the world are capitalists. They want to make money.
They want the most control that they can have.
100%. The only way, whether you look back to medieval England, the kings and the church owned everyone. It's no different now, except for we have, vastly more population. Religion is no longer the forefront of a rule set. We actually have rules.
Now the people in control aren't the ones that are the Christians or the kings or whatever. 100%. So back then it was maybe, okay, the kings and queens and the noblemen are in control. Whereas now it's like big pharma, big companies, we don't know. We don't know who's pulling the strings, So it's maybe more unclear for us, but it's as much of a control aspect and a money game as it ever has been.
It's exactly the same. It's just a different... Back then, if you had George down in the town square going, the king's an idiot, George would just get secretly taken out the back, get his head lopped off, buried in the woods. And we didn't have social media. Have you seen George? No, I think he went down to Blackpool. Oh, okay, cool. That's the end of it. The problem is, I think it's very hard for all these guys that want to so-called run the world and are capitalists. And I don't think there's a big plan. I think everyone looks at it such a tunnel visioned way. Like me and you are going to make a plan to rob something. We would sit down and we'd make an actual plan because me and you have got to do something. I think it's just generational. How do we sell more drugs? How do we do this? Let's try this and see if it works. COVID would have been a fucking, let's try it. It's not, they don't have their long-term plan is to make as much money, as much power, and as much corruption over everyone they humanly can. There's no they don't have a secret agenda. I don't think there's no secret agenda. I think everyone makes it.
Everyone's just taking advantage of human nature.
100%.
And it's just these big companies like, okay, well, we've seen this works. Let's do that with our 100%. Organization.
And then the next generation of whoever the family is go, I saw Dad do this. Let's try it with social media because we've got social media now. Let's try a smear campaign on someone. See if we can make some money. It's just a natural progression of capitalism. There's never... The richest people in the world have never been good people. If he was your dad, he's probably a good person. He's probably a great dad. I'm not going to sit here and name names of families that so-called run the world, but he's probably going to be a good dad. Is he a good dad? Yeah, because he wants your family to be the best. He wants your family to be the richest. In the same way that I want my children to outperform my friends' children. It's human nature. They've just got a lot of money and a lot of reach and a lot of power and a lot of time behind them. So I think I don't think it's anything unusual. I think it's very difficult for them at the moment. You know, I think this, like you've seen with this whole Trump assassination, they still haven't released the papers on JFK, which was 26 years ago or something stupid, or 46 years, some mad amount of time. Still haven't released what happened there. And now you're watching this stuff unfold with Trump. Where would we be living if Trump had been assassinated? I think America would be in a civil war. I think
it would be an interesting time.
I think it would be a very interesting time if Donald Trump had hit the deck. I think it's very interesting Donald Trump didn't hit the deck and now is going to be the leader of the free world.
So with your experience of, firearms, with your experience of understanding, hunting almost, what is your whole viewpoint of that? Because there's obviously people that like, my immediate contrarian thought would be like, no, Trump deliberately did that.
Right.
Because there was a version where Reagan also had that.
This is what the Democrats said. If you know firearms, like I know firearms, the guy who took that shot took it with a 16-inch 5.56 bolt semi-automatic rifle. Low range, it wasn't anything good. They don't know what it was exactly. They're not releasing what gun, who made it. With rifles, there is a very specific thing. It's called MOA, all right, minutes of angle. It's basically telling you at 100 yards how big a group your rifle will shoot, okay? So very high-end rifles. Let's take a Christian Arms. It'll have a 1/4-inch MOA. So at 100 yards, all the bullets will land within a 1/4-inch circle, okay? A really high-end AR will have a 1.5-inch minutes of angle, okay? A low-end AR will be 4 to 5-inch. There is not a sniper on this planet that with that gun at that distance could have taken that shot to hit his ear with his head moving. It was a legitimate assassination attempt. Now, whether we're going to talk about the conspiracy of who was behind it, I don't know. The Secret Service did not do their job properly that day. They should have there's a door open. There was a door open. Why that door was open, whether it was human error, deliberate, that rooftop should have been covered off. If you look at it and I've gone down the path of looking at all really high-end guys like recon snipers and stuff, looking at it, and ex-Secret Service members, and listen to podcasts about it. And everyone's conclusion that there was a massive fundamental flaw in the security that day. For what reason? It's impossible to prove. Same as it's impossible to prove who shot JFK. But that shot was not taken deliberately. There is not a man on this earth that I would let shoot at me from 150 yards to shoot me at the ear.
And we know Trump. Do you think he's going to trust someone to actually do that?
He'd be dead if he didn't move his head. If that guy wasn't stupid and just put it center mass, he'd be dead. Because he would have hit him. He went for the glory shot. No one that's actually this is the other thing. Like, there's so much crap behind it in terms of firearms. If I was going to shoot someone at 150 yards with any sort of knowledge of firearms, I'm not going to use a 5.56 rifle because the round's just ballistically coefficiently bad. I shoot you anywhere center mass with a 300 Win Mag, a 308. Anything that's easy to get hold of out of a decent hunting rifle that you can shoot, a 1/4-inch MOA at that distance very easily. Why wouldn't you just choose that? Like, why wouldn't I just shoot you center mass with a 300 Win Mag? That guy that did
do the shooting, what in those like podcasts and stuff you listen to? I mean, what was his age? What is his background?
So there's some really wonky stuff going on. Eric Prince, do you ever heard of a company called Blackwater?
Yeah.
Largest private security sector in the world. No longer exist. But so there's a couple of guys that have been looking into it. There's some real wonky shit going on. So one of the specific companies looked into this kid's address. So when they went to this kid's house, it was dead clean. He was a 20-year-old male. No real background, nothing really exceptional. And you can do what you call ad tracking on a phone in the cybercrime world. So basically, I don't have to track. I can track the ads that have come up on your phone, which gives me a location of your phone. They ad tracked a phone that I think visited this kid's house 4 or 5 times and then was seen back in a building in Washington. And no one knows who this phone belongs to. They're trying to track it. The guys, not the government, private sector guys who are trying to figure out what happened. Because that's the difference between the JFK and now. You've got these private security companies that are going, okay, what fuckery went on here?
And the technology to be able to do a bit more.
Exactly. So there's a lot of, the house was clean. There wasn't a dirty plate. Like the kid was a 20-year-old, looked like a stoner. Like he did, and funnily enough, took a 300 Win Mag to the face and absolutely slotted him. So this is what I don't get. There's a lot of stuff that just makes no sense. And as Eric Prince said, like, it's not how I would have done an assassination attempt. And what's more important is the lessons learned from that day is they couldn't deal with a 20-year-old boy. What happens if a 10-man Hezbollah team hits the president? Like Secret Service really needs to be squared away. Everyone always see these movies and their Secret Service are always on top. And there are probably some great guys. I don't know a lot about the Secret Service. I've read a lot more into it recently because of this, because I was really curious to how someone got in within, I think they were meant to have a 300-yard perimeter according to the Secret Service, like what you can read up on it. And this guy got into 150 yards with a rifle on the roof. Like, it's just, there's a lot of fuckery. But it could just be complete human error and some idiot. Like, you don't know.
He just got lucky.
It's just pointless. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is pointless to sit here and conspire about it. And I think we're going to find a lot more about it when Trump gets in charge. I think Trump will release the JFK files straight away because they've tried to do it to him. And he's pretty sure that is one of them. From what he's saying at the moment, he's 99% sure that someone doesn't want him running. And you can understand it. He's against all the big arms manufacturer. He doesn't want war. He doesn't, if you're a big time, you don't want that man in power. You want Joe Biden, who can't speak, who just signs documents without knowing what he's doing.
Yeah. That's
what you want. Like we're talking about these companies. We talk about the companies that so-called run the world. They want someone that just, he signed this. Oh, okay. They don't want Trump, who can't be bought, who actually wants to make a difference.
I think that's also a big thing about society is we think that obviously Trump maybe is more control. He's still controlled to a certain degree, because I will till the end of my life at least not trust humans in power.
No.
Just because of the amount of money and corruption, and there's no reason why someone, unless they've got some God complex, which I think Trump maybe has, but it doesn't mean that he can't do a good job. But I definitely think that, people in power,
they're narcissists.
100% narcissists, big ego problems, but to some degree are controlled by people behind the scenes, because the best leader, 100%. No one knows is the leader.
Joe Rogan said it on his podcast. He was like, you can get the best guy in the world, RFK, for instance, let's say he got into power and he's got all these great grandiose ideas. As soon as you get into power, they take you down into the basement and go, look, dickhead, this is actually what's going on. There's nothing you can do about it. Unfortunately, hands are tied. And then because you see it, they all speak and they speak this, and then they get into power and they're like, oh, they can't do anything. Their hands are tied. And I don't think there's massive conspiracy planned theories behind it. I think there's just too many wheels in motion of stuff that is growing the economy that they can't take that little piece out, which is what they said they wanted to do, because if they take that little piece out, it all comes crumbling down. I think a lot of people look at conspiracies like, the president goes in a room and you have the Rothschilds and everyone goes, right, dickhead, this is what you're doing. And I don't think that's the case. I think it's just a case of, look, this is where our economy is going. It's actually growing because of this. And this bill and this act and this bill, if you take that away, that bill can't. I think it's just like there's too much. There's
too many pieces where it's, no, but you can't stop that because we've got an agreement with these people. And if we have this agreement that stops, then these people are going to pull out this agreement. So I think there's just too many moving pieces.
And it's this, like you said.
Yeah, there's too much money and too many moving pieces. It's not, maybe
an orchestrated
the aliens
plan.
working with
100%. I don't believe in all that.
Rothschilds and,
I don't believe in all that. I truly believe that. I don't believe, like my personal belief on what happened with Trump, someone is behind it. I don't think a 20-year-old boy, it's so easy to go on YouTube and say, What's the best hunting rifle for 100 yards? Ballistically. I can tell you, just go on YouTube. What does the most damage round-wise at 100 yards? There's guys who have sent shit 24/7. So I don't think that kid, I think there was there's some form of fuckery. I don't know who it is. I don't know.
And also, I mean, you would need to do some sort of investigation into, okay, this is where the rally is. I would probably need to be here.
But
there would be some form of planning at his house.
But this is the thing. He did. They've got video footage of him with a drone and a rangefinder. But there was no laid out plan. He just sat at the base of the building. And again, if that footage exists, why the fuck was he, like, why is there no one securing that roof? There's just so much stuff from a tactical standpoint. You just look at it and you'd be like, doesn't make sense. The counter sniper team was pointing in that direction. All right. For instance, if you want to become a sniper in the Marines, and, you know, most of the counter snipers that are part of the Secret Service are ex-Special Forces snipers or ex-SWAT snipers. I can pretty much see an Impala in the bush at 150 yards, and I'm not a trained individual, okay? You know, the way they pass out their course, if you're doing any sort of, most specialized sniper schools will do something along these lines. You will have to work into a position within about 800 yards of a instructor sat on the back of a bucky. You will take a shot. It's blank, obviously, there's no round, but you take a shot at the instructor. The instructor then has 1 or 2 chances to find you. He has a walker out in the field. He says, walk left, walk left, walk left. Put your right hand out, shooter's underneath you. No, he's not there. Okay, cool. You then have an opportunity to take a second shot, okay? And if the instructor doesn't find you, you pass out. Or you go back and reset. So we're talking about guys who can see guys in ghillie suits that are trained snipers, but a guy in a grey t-shirt led on a white roof 150 yards away you can't see.
Yeah. Especially when your sole job is, okay, this designated area.
This is me. And
you don't have to worry about anything else. You've got a small, because I mean, the team would have been big.
Yeah, I mean, there was 2, from what I understand, there was 2 counter sniper teams. One was pointed in the direction of Trump. There was only a cluster of buildings at 150 yards. We're not talking about a town where it was taken from a window on a skyscraper.
I mean, I saw video footage of the movement of the kid on the roof. So, I mean, if someone's on their phone, and yes, they were filming Trump, they weren't filming him, but if you can, in the video, see movement, how does the sniper or whatever not notice that?
This is what I mean. And he looks... I think also the problem is we live in a world where we can't just shoot people. There's so much accountability. Like, Secret Service, if they see a firearm, should be able to shoot you. End of story.
Especially at a rally like that where the most powerful person in the world is,
Because you see the sniper, the counter sniper looks up his scope. So he's looking at down his scope, and he's obviously seen him. Looks out his scope to kind of like get a visual on what he's looking at. And then that's when the shots ring out and he kind of flinches and goes back, settles in. And I don't actually think it was him that shot him. Apparently it was the guys across the other side, because the round entered here. It would have entered flat if it was those guys. But the ballistics, the round entered the side of his head and came out here. So I think it was the other counter sniper team that took him out. But it's just a lot of... It could all just be human error.
Well, when Trump wins, we'll find out.
I think so.
You mentioned ego earlier in terms of the hunting aspect. And I've recently trying to walk this fine line of, you know, having an ego to have goals, try achieve, try work towards things, do difficult stuff, feed the ego in terms of overcoming those difficult things, but then also not have an ego where I feel that I'm better than other people because I do these hard things and they don't. Or I have an ego in terms of doing something difficult to prove to myself that I'm better, or that's the difficult place I'm at. It's where
fine line to walk.
Like, I don't want to be like, no, don't have an ego, don't worry. Like, I'm not also, I think also not comparing yourself to other people. Have an ego with yourself, to have high standards with yourself, but not judge other people maybe for not doing what you want to do or the choices that you make. But it's just difficult because it's trying to, okay, don't have an ego because I don't want to, in some way compare myself to other people. But then also, if I lower my ego, then I'm not going to try achieve as much. It's difficult.
No, I think without sounding disrespectful, fuck them all. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's the way I look at it. Like, I don't hate anyone. I'm always open to help people. Am I the best at what I do? Yeah. Am I as good as I can be? No. Do you know what I mean? Like, so for me, like, it is this fine line of you have to be a dickhead. Like, you don't have to be a dickhead to the public, but you have to be a dickhead. Because I can't sit here and worry about if I'm going to hurt someone's feelings by saying I'm better than them. Because I don't give a fuck. Because I'm better than you. Well, pick your shit up. Like, do you get me? Like, I would never look at you and go, oh, you're going to outshoot me. I'm better than you at shooting. Yeah. But put me and you on a trail in the mountains, you'll run me circles. So you should all be good at something. Do you know what I mean? And if I'm going to sit here and ever chat shit about Jesse running trails, you should be egotistical enough and go, all right, motherfucker, come running with me. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I like, it's almost part of that softness we were talking about. Like, why should we care? You don't. Yeah. The Viking Lord didn't give two shits about how good the other guy was. He was going to go cut his head off or he was going to get his head cut off. And like, I have that mentality, like, but I get you. I get what you're saying. Like, it's hard not to be a dick and be, because remember, like, you've got this section of us that are like trying to borderline how to approach the world and how to be better. And we want to be better and you have to have an ego. The best sportsman in the world all say,
any high achiever actually has an
I'm
ego.
the best at it.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. Don't care on your opinion. And that's the truth of it. Like, I went through a really big stage where I cared what people thought. It was really weird for me. Because I grew up my whole 20s, I didn't. I was just an animal. I didn't give a toss. And then I got clean and sober, and then I started caring what people thought. And I had to have a serious word with myself because I was like, living off someone else's opinion is the most pointless fucking thing in the world. And 9.5 times out of 10, anyone that's got opinion on you is a fucking waste of space.
No one judges up.
No. I look at people and I admire what they're doing.
Wait, I said that wrong. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Everyone, yes. So people, well, you
hate on someone that's better than you.
Yes. You're never going
to hate someone below you.
Yes, yeah.
But again, having the ability to go, what you do is really cool, but I can't do it, is such a unfathomability for most men. Do you know what I mean? I don't understand it.
And I think that's also where there actually is no ego, because I can be proud enough and man enough to be like, I am good at what I do. Yeah. James is a better shot, a better 100%. Everything than me in terms of the hunting and gun world. Yeah. And I can own up to that. That doesn't mean James is a better person or a nicer person. It's just acknowledgement of your skills and skill set, your hard work.
Yeah. And I think, again, it's just going down to the raising whole girls over men. Like, a man will always appreciate, someone that's doing something difficult. Some of my best friends, like Chef from Fight Fit, who's Richie's business partner, me and him have some really cool talks about fatherhood and schooling and like relationships. But that man would grind me into a fucking pulp with one hand. So like, your asset doesn't make you like less of a man or more of a man. Like, everyone I respect does something cool. And I always hear people chat shit, and like, people chat shit about me because I'm very controversial. Like, I've come into a world where everyone gets paid to do stuff, gets money from companies, and oh yeah, you're cool on Instagram. Like, fuck off. Like, I don't care. Like, I actually hated being in the public eye. It was one of the I hated it. I was very known in the UK for the naughty shit that I was doing, and I wanted to come here and live a quiet life. And the problem is, it got to a point with the company that was like, I need to explain these things. Someone said to me, if you don't, you only know what you know. To me, I know how a hinge and a sunglasses work. If you didn't know actually how it works, I'd have to show you how it works and how it's put together. And with something, a piece of equipment that the whole persona of the company is to better equip, have a better understanding of violence, and put you towards people that can train you to keep you and your loved ones alive. I have to voice myself. Do you know what I mean? But I was also never going to be at the point where I would just bow down to those that I think are doing wrong.
Yeah, but also you're in an industry where it's a controversial industry
100%.
to work in. So if you are kind of like, well, guys, buy my holsters if you like it, then you definitely aren't going to sell. You're in an industry where you have to just be outspoken and be like, you know, I am good at what I do. These are the best products for what you need. And, you know, I enjoy hunting and I enjoy, you know, controlled violence. And that's just what it is.
Yeah, we use the word educated violence.
Educated. Yeah, I remember Richie used to saying that.
So, you know, it's not just that, like, so many people will like beat around a subject. For instance, there's a thing called one up in a gun world, carrying one in the chamber, one up. Like, I'm always like, it's bullshit. Don't carry a gun. Because the reason for it, if you're not carrying one up, is you don't understand how your gear mechanically works. You haven't had enough time behind your gear, so you don't understand that it's safe. Or you're not carrying the correct gear to keep it safe or understand the mechanics. But I'll tell anyone that's not carrying one up, put the gun back in the safe. And I'll say to people, like I've had, you know, going across to my soft side, like if a guy reaches out to me, he's genuinely like, James, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to carry one up, blah, blah, blah. Cool. Meet me at the range 3 o'clock Tuesday. I'll spend an hour with you. Won't cost you a fucking thing. Why? Because if I can have one of me on every fucking street corner, watch this city turn upside down. Do you know what I mean? Your guy who's coming out of deep sleep to do hijackings and there's one of me behind on every, good luck. All of a sudden, hijacking isn't a thing. You know? If every other house has someone that can shoot my ability and happy to take lives of people that are dickheads, then all of a sudden the world becomes a better place. Okay? It's so simple. They don't want to fight. No criminal wants to fight.
And then to also, the person that's watching this is saying, but then the person that is also doing the crime is also aware and capable of being one up and they have, you know, training. But then it's like, okay, they're going to have a gun anyway. They're going to try to create violence. But now the people that are trying to protect themselves, there's more of them. So even, let's say everyone has the ability, even the bad guys, that's fine. Because then everyone has the ability, whereas the bad guys are still having more ability in terms of understanding violence than the everyday Joe. So irrespective, it's still safer. Look, even if the bad guys are more educated.
The bad guys will never be more educated, but what they have is an unseen amount of normalization to high-end violence. Growing up as a kid, watching people get stabbed, shot, blah, blah, raped, you will never win in terms of mindset with a criminal. The reason being he's doing this to feed his family. You're doing this because you just woke up in the middle of the night in your fancy house and now you've got to defend your family. And until your wife is getting abused, you don't realize the devastation or you can't comprehend unless you've been in a violent situation or seen that or come into a situation like I've been into houses after that's happened, like the you can't. This is what I was talking about mindset earlier on. You cannot think negatively about taking another person's life. I refer to them as dickheads, all right? Because I have zero problems, not one. I slept like a baby. I didn't even, to the point where I went home to my girlfriend at the time, who I had a kid with. She didn't even know about it for 6 months. Just like, fine. I live with that. I'm fine. You know, so that kind of differential between having to understand that these guys grew up with violence. They grew up watching rape. You know, these guys they're never going to be as high-end spec in training terms as me. But gunfights also are just you can put all the aspect of luck into it, all the aspect of skill into it. There's always going to be an aspect of luck. Bullets start flying, shit goes wrong. So preparation's actually more important. Having a mindset of, cool, how do I segregate my family if someone comes into my house? You know, like I always say this. I was having this conversation earlier on with a guy. I like shooting. I like violence. I like all of this stuff. If someone knocks on the window with a gun, you can have my car key and I'll get out and go have a good day. Because I'm also not stupid. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not, there's a certain sensibility that you can, even if, it's like Richie and that lot, like, he'll reverse park into places. He won't put himself in situations, and he's still a very dangerous man because he understands, especially through the martial arts world, that you can put two highly trained fighters in a cage. One is far superior, and we see it all the time with the UFC, and, you know, an element of luck comes into it and it's game over. Now you put that into bullets and knives and you die, your family dies. Like, it's a whole different ball game. You know, the stakes are higher. So I think for me, it's, you know, a case of having an understanding. Don't be an idiot. Don't put yourself in a situation. The amount of times I see a girl pissed out of her face outside LSB by herself on her phone in the car park like this, and I'm like,
asking for it.
I won't do that. I don't drink myself, you know, like, but even me, I wouldn't stand there and do that sober. I wouldn't do it.
And it's a sad reality, but you kind of just have to be vigilant all the time. You know, it's one of those things where, you know, I'll be, especially at night, I'll be at a robot and you'll see a car park next to you and then like someone will get out the car. I think it's just naive to not at least be aware or be ready to do something. Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you don't need to be there.
Especially in this country, it's just, you know,
it's part and parcel of living here.
Yeah, it's like, no, I don't want to offend that person by thinking that.
I don't care.
Yeah, you just have to, because
I don't care.
What's a priority, your life or potentially protecting someone's feelings?
Don't care. Like, if it comes to I've been with my child in underground car parks, you know, walking with my kid, a 4-year-old, and a dude will come walking across the car. I'll pick her up and I'll stare at him. I'm like, cool. Like, I don't care what he thinks. I want him to know if he is a bad dude, I've got eyes on you and you're going to have to go down a different road with me. Or if it's this innocent guy, to him to go, oh, why are you looking at me like that? I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care what is. I don't care about their feelings.
Let's say it was innocent.
He's going to walk the other way.
Like, what a weirdo. And then continue with his day. You know, maybe he's thinking about you, but you've still taken
a point where I'm like, cool. So I think it's like one of those things, like, you know, if you're a sissy, Africa's not for you. It's just not. You know, Africa's Africa. It's a whole different ball game. The whole of Africa. It's a different ball game. But again, it's also the dream. Oh, I hear so many white kids. Oh, I can't get fucking jobs. I'm like, dude, I moved here 8 years ago and I got a company that's just never endingly growing. I had 20 grand in a bag of clothes when I landed in Joburg. Shut up. Like, you just haven't got it about you. You want it given to you is what you want.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So we spoke about knowing that you're better than other people in certain aspects. And it's difficult because recently I was just having these feelings of like, I'm surrounded by weak people.
Oh God, it kills me.
I'm surrounded by people that succumb to every single desire that they have. I'm surrounded by people that just fall prey to inflation.
Or have a victim mentality.
And it's taxing because you have friends who are nice people. They genuinely can be nice people.
Yeah, 100%.
But they're just super complacent and they're just very, you know, oh, well, I've put on weight. It's okay. Oh, well, I can't afford to come and do this excursion with you. You know, I can't afford to go to that movie and watch a movie with you. Oh, we can't go out to dinner this weekend, you know, as a friend group because I don't have cash. And it's just like, or do something about it.
I can't tell you how many mates I've dropped in the last 8 years.
And you have to.
I just can't be fucked with people. Like, honestly, and it's not a horrible thing. The one job I'm focused on at the moment more than my companies or anything else or improving as a human is a dad. You know, I'm turning up every fucking day and trying to have this whole co-parenting thing, which we're doing really well. And it's the one job I can't fuck up, you know? My daughter needs to admire me and want a man like me. And my boy needs to replace me, be more feared, more respected, you know, in every aspect of the game. And the only way I do that right now is by me being around them and being this big, loving human to my daughter and being this boisterous boy with my son. And, you know, I think it's just, victim mentality is one of the biggest things I see recently, you know, amongst friendship groups. Oh, but you said, it's like, own your shit, man. Like, I fucked up with my previous relationship. Granted, there was lots of reasons for it, but I fucked up. I own up. I took it on the chin. What can I do to make your life better? You know, I still bring my ex a coffee every morning. You know, I still pick the kids up every day. Still have to give them money. Like, it's, what can I do? I fucked up. And for the rest of my life, I owe that to her. So for me, it's kind of like, you know, and I think we just have this mentality. Like I said earlier on, it's your fault. It's always your fault. It's so simple.
And, you know, obviously you're big into bow hunting, and you obviously know, you know, Jocko and all of those guys and Cam Haynes and all of that. So Cam Haynes' book, Extreme Ownership, and it is Jocko's book, sorry. Cam Haynes, what's his one book?
Can't remember.
Oh, Endurance something? Endure. But Extreme Ownership, Jocko's book. And in business, you know, that's the biggest thing, where it's actually just be a man and own up. So, you know, in my studio here, I have a guy who works for me on weekends and certain days during the week and helps me with clients. And he made a mistake and he messed up someone's audio. So the entire 2-hour recording or whatever is unusable. And I have to, as the owner, go to the client and be like, unfortunately, I made a mistake. Your audio, there was a problem with it. As a business owner, you can't go, oh, well, sorry, my employee messed up. You have to take ownership. And I think in everything, you have to take ownership. You can't, and I think if you want a successful business, your employee messes up, it's as much your fault as the owner, the manager, or whoever, as theirs. Yes, you can obviously, you know, like using them as a scapegoat is like, that's wrong. But if you say to them, I'm terribly sorry, we made a mistake. You know, but as an owner, I don't think it's right to say, you know, sorry, the guy that was working on the weekend messed up your audio. Like,
because in the long run, the reason he's messed up the audio is because of something that you haven't taught him, or you haven't.
That's the extreme ownership of, okay, well, it was my fault. Maybe I didn't prepare him enough.
Don't get me wrong. Like, my guys get shouted at work because I'm a ruthless asshole, but at the same time,
no, but you shouting them out. You're not going.
Yeah,
like, let's say
I won't ever blame them out on the outside.
Yes.
And this is why I actually shout at them. I say, because it's not your fucking name going out the door. It's my name. So by you doing something wrong, you're disrespecting me. You're telling me you don't give a fuck about me. That's how I look at it. But to the outside world, no, it's my problem, isn't it? It's because I haven't taught them right. I haven't done it right. And I think it's one of those things whereby, you know, it's just so hard to manage as a dude, especially a dude like us. Like, you know, I struggle immensely with the whole ownership of things, and like, and sitting there. Because there's a certain aspect of, I can take ownership for everything. But there's also a certain aspect of, like we were saying, being surrounded by like-minded people. And like, your employees are never going to be 100% like-minded people.
They're employees. They're not owners.
They're not the boss.
Yeah.
So therefore, you know, like, I've got a young man called Des who works for me. And he's been with me since he was an apprentice at a tattoo studio. And he's left and gone because it was such a horrible boss at the tattoo studio. But, you know, it's also human. Like, how do you deal with humans? Like, I used to just beat Des into submission. He didn't have a dad. So I was like, I try and do this tough love thing with him. Whereas now I've realized if I just sit him down and go, do this, don't do this, do this. It's okay to fuck up. Just come and talk to me that you fucked up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's such a weird element of being a boss. And like, now I'm expanding the business. So I've got this whole corporate side, and I'm not a corporate dude. I mean, you can clearly see that. I've got face tattoos, you know, so now there's this whole corporate side of the business and all this stuff that's going on there, which is interesting. But again, it's learning evolution, learning to grow and learning to be better at what you do, whether that be a father, whether that be a partner, whether that be a business owner. Try and be an all-rounded human. And I'm a bit of a dickhead. I'm not going to lie, Jess. Like, I don't like many people. I'm not one of these people that will just entertain people wanting to talk to me. Like, I have fucking such a close group of people that I love and adore and admire. Outside of that, I really don't have time for the world. Like, I'm so busy.
Yeah, and I think that's also the thing of people that have goals and have dreams and have vision is you've got a certain amount of bandwidth. And if someone is trying to suck a certain amount of your energy, it's like, I've recently been trying to get out into the dating world again. And I'll spend time with a girl, and I'll just be, you taking way more energy from me than I'm getting.
No,
or
100%.
you're not fueling me, or you're not adding, like, it's like a game character. You with me should be adding stats. You should be
100%.
Increasing my ability to perform, increasing my desire to maybe look intrinsically and grow as a human. Like all of these things, you shouldn't just be making me feel like, oh, all I did was sit there, listen to her problems.
Ugh. So like I went through this. So obviously I messed up, fucking over a year and a half, year, 3/4 ago now. Ex moved out with the kids, blah, blah, blah. And I struggled really hard because my kids in my life, growing. I moved my family into this big old mansion. One of the kids to have a big house to grow up in. And all of a sudden was alone in it, and I went through a really dark space, my old ways would have just been drinking drugs, and there was a couple of really dark nights, but it's again learning to grow as a human, Jess. Like, and I talked to a couple of chicks, and I was just like, as the same as you. I was just like, ugh, I'm uninterested. And then again, I met my new chick now. I met a bike. Like, it's one of those things in life. This is what I think with women. You'll find them when you're not looking for them. I think when you're looking for them, you'll never find them. Because all you're looking for, the first thing you do when you look for a woman is you base it on face value. And the best women aren't face value.
Yeah.
The best women aren't. This one I've got now is a fucking superstar. I couldn't have asked for a better match in my life. But as you said, she adores me. She supports me. She wants to know about business. She wants to be in the loop. She wants my manliness to come out the way and be like, so what's going on? What's hard? What's not? She's genuinely interested in my life. She's interested in my kids. She's interested. So as you said, that stature goes up. And through that, you just have a better connection with a human. She's my favorite human other than my kids. Like, she's just, I am happier when I'm with her than when I'm without her.
Yeah.
And I think it's so hard as a man to find that.
Yeah.
I never thought I was going to find it, Jess. I never thought I was going to find it. And I went out on a birthday party that I wasn't even going to go to, and it nearly cancelled. Got introduced to her, and from the second we met, never left each other's face. It was like, oh. And I've been with dates and I've met women, and I just think it's hard.
Yeah, I've got a general rule of thumb in terms of maybe wanting to see the girl the second time or whatever. It's if I don't feel this burning desire to see this person again, like this, butterfly feeling in your stomach, heart rate goes up,
100%.
You're excited. That's all you think about the next day or whatever.
Yeah.
If I don't get that with a girl, I don't even entertain trying to get to know her more. There's no point.
Because what about in a year's time?
Exactly. If you aren't on fire right now, you're not going to get... Like, obviously, I understand you learn to grow and you
and our
love
age
the
is
person
different as
more.
well.
Yeah.
Because we have businesses to run. It's not like when you're 16, you can see the guy, you see him all the time,
Yeah.
At our age, we have real life things. We have bills, we have pets, you have trail running, you have weekends to go do your biking, So you've got to really want each other to be able to like slot in and work. I mean, I'm 39, you're only 20. What did you say, 28?
28, yeah.
God, I wish I was 28 again.
I want to ask, because obviously you're in your own business, you obviously also very enjoy things of isolation, and you enjoy being out in nature, being by yourself, close group of individuals.
Knit is what you're after.
Close knit. So I recently was seeing a girl.
Yeah.
And this is quite far into the podcast, so no one knows who it was, so that's fine. I can say what she said.
Yeah.
But this is almost why we ended it. And I mean, I don't care about exposing my emotional insecurities.
No, 100%.
Like, I'm not talking bad of her. This is essentially on me emotionally. And I want to see how you've dealt with it. She said, because during the week, I wouldn't see her during the week, and then I'd see her on the weekends because I was still in the early stages.
Yes.
So like maybe a dinner on a Wednesday night or whatever. But she said I wasn't emotionally there during the week, and then in person I was there with emotionally. I was able to be with her, express myself, all of that stuff in person on the weekend. But during the week, Monday to Friday, because I was so focused on work, because I would, the moment I'm done working, a lot of my clients, or all of my clients, I talk to them on WhatsApp, send them their stuff. So I'm always on my phone dealing with people. Then
the understanding of being able to turn off.
Yes, in the evening, it's nice for me to not be on my phone, and because I don't want to sit on my phone talking to someone when I've been doing that for a large portion of the day. And also, at the end of the day, I've been dealing with 5, 6 different types of people, groups of people. I don't actually want to have to deal with people. And if we lived together, different story, I'd be able to, but we weren't together. She was at her place, I was at mine, so we weren't able to communicate the same way. But I just wasn't capable of giving her the emotional support or
it's not even the emotional support. I think it's just the attention.
The attention that she needed. And I said to her, unfortunately, we don't live together. This is still the early stages. This is who I am. When we are seeing each other in person, there's no problem. Like, you're happy with the emotional attention, the level of
affection,
vulnerability that I'm showing or whatever. You're happy with that in person. But like, it's just tough for me during the week when I'm dealing with people all the time.
I think
all
it's
of these
so hard
things.
to juggle, hey?
Yeah.
It's time. I feel like I don't actually have enough time in the day, but I do. It's like the old, I don't have time to go to the gym. You do. Like, you always have time.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying. Like, I get up in the morning, I go take the kids to school, I go pick up the guys, I go to work, and then I drop them off, and I'm running around and pick the kids up, spend a couple of hours with the kids, and in between all of that, having to talk to people on the phone, and like, this whole juggling procedure of life. I'm not going to say my new chick's name, but she's the first person I actually want to talk to in the evening. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not an emotional guy, really. Like, I've never really get very connected with people, which is weird. And I've told her this a million times. Like, I'm normally very standoffish with women. Always have been.
I'm exactly the same.
Yeah,
That's
like,
why most of all my relationships haven't worked properly, because I haven't been vulnerable enough. I've grown as I've gotten older.
I don't think it's vulnerability. I think it's just. I think it's.
How are you with PDA?
Yeah, I'm fine with it if I like the chick. Like, cool.
Can you walk in a shop and like hold hands?
Yeah. I
don't know why, but I've always struggled with that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I look public signs of affection, and I'm quite an affectionate guy with the woman that I love, but I've never really been like loved up. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but like, I think it's also, if you had a certain step in your house going up the stairs that you tripped over every single time. All right, you just step over that step. I think once we get to your late 20s, and especially my age, especially once you've had kids with a woman you thought you could spend the rest of your life with, and then due to a mistake of my own, you messed that up. I kind of give up on that. I went through such a dark place. I was like, right, cool. I'm going to build a monster of a business for my kids to inherit, and I'm going to be the best dad. I'm not really going to ever have another woman in my life. That's genuinely where I was, and I had 1 and 2, and I talked to a couple, and I was like, yeah, definitely not, I'm so focused, hyper-focused. I think it's the truth of it is the right person's for the right people. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if I don't talk to her for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, she knows I'm busy, and she won't get angry about it. And vice versa, I think, problem is you're in your late 20s. Girls in their late 20s are a different breed, because what they're trying to do is find a life partner. They're trying to find someone that raises their status, because the world's changed with women now, Looks, money, status in the social world is so much more important than just a good fucking dude.
So that's also, women will most of the time, and it's fair to say this, won't go for a man that earns less than them.
No.
But a man will happily, as long as he gets along with the woman, she's beautiful, and they have things that are in common
You're
interest.
probably your own worst nightmare.
And she can work
as well.
at McDonald's.
You're probably your own worst nightmare because the way you look. Like, you're a fucking specimen of a dude.
Thank you, bro.
I actually showed my chick. I showed my chickie this morning. I was like, she says, "Who's this guy that you're going on a podcast with?" I was like, "He's a fucking specimen. Look at him." She was like, "Yeah, he's a good looking guy." And I was like, "Yeah." Like, you're your own worst fucking nightmare, probably, because you've almost got to filter through some of the bullshit. Why do they want you? Do they want you because you are socially media, influenced, and you are a specimen of a human? Because it's so hard to look past the face value of someone and look into who they are. Do you know what I mean? And especially back in the days when I was doing naughty stuff, and I had lots of money and lots of fancy cars and all the rest of it. It's so difficult. Like, it's so difficult. Like, it's easy for me now because I am what I am. I know what I am. And I don't have to beat around the bullshit with it. Do you know what I mean? My new chick, she's 30. She's got a kid. She's separated from her partner. Like, perfect.
What's the best age of woman for you, in your experience?
Because girls in their 30s are a very different breed to girls in their 20s.
Yeah. Because my experience with older women is always
better.
been preferable because they more know what they want.
And not only that, they just have a maternal instinct, which all boys love.
Yeah.
Like this is what I mean. Like, funny enough, the best women I've ever talked to and ever met properly and spent time with are women that have got kids. But it's the same as men that have kids. Girls will say the same about men that have kids. Like, my respect for women, and I was never disrespectful to women, may I add. Like, I've always been very respectful of women. I would never sleep with a woman too drunk, blah, blah, blah. But like, my respect levels for women watching my ex raise my kids and the level of difficulty and having a daughter, like, it changes your view and aspect on thought and understanding. And then, 2.5-year-old, my new one's got, like, you just have an instant amount of respect for them because you're a single mum. How are you fucking doing this shit? So I think the older women are, but I think the older men are. All the men I know that really adapt to dealing with their shit are dads.
Because that's also, okay, I'm a dad now. So one, I need to actually be more mature. I need to pull myself together. I need to make enough money to support this kid. I also need to be more patient because this kid's 2 years old. They're idiots, actually.
No, they are.
You have to be patient. You have to be patient.
That want to kill themselves.
You have to be understanding. You have to lower your ego a little bit because you have to deal with a crying baby in a shopping center. Like, all of these things make you a better human. 100%.
I'm a vastly different guy with my kids. And people that know me outside versus see me with my kids know that. Like, I'm just big. So my little girl's my best mate. Like, I'm this big, soft. I think I've raised my voice to her twice in my life, maybe 3 times, and they're all dangerous things.
How important is that? Because I was raised, my dad was very militant in how I was raised, which I'm very fortunate about. And, very strict in terms of work ethic. I still remember school holidays, 5:30 in the morning, he's going to gym. He'll wake me up on a school holiday and be like, Jesse, go outside, go do something, come with me to gym.
That's what a boy should be raised
100%. I feared my dad would get home from work. If I heard that garage door open, I turned off the TV.
100%.
And
make sure everything's sorted.
I quickly ran and did something. And, sometimes I'll tell people about that, but like, that's so negative, that's so strict. But then I'll look at it and be like, okay,
but why are you
what
where
job
you are now?
you in?
Yeah, exactly.
Where are you in your life? Okay, maybe
I
it actually
didn't
wasn't
have a
that
dad
bad.
growing up. And fatherless boys become criminals. It's the simplest thing. 2 things fatherless boys do: become hyper narcissistic, hyper performing lunatics, bankers, cokeheads, just fucking lunatics, or they become criminals. I became a criminal. Didn't have a dad. Never could. My dad rekindled our friendship relationship. He's my father. I love him very much. He's helped me, a lot, and give me a lot of opportunity that I see now as an adult. But as a kid, I never kicked a football with him. He never took me fishing. I never did anything. Because he was raised to provide for your family. He was raised by my granddad, who was the militant guy. So dad's idea of love was provide. And I had the best schools. I've traveled the world, et cetera, which now I understand as cool. And it's made me the better father I am. So it's all works in a roundabout. Do you know what I mean? You'll probably be softer on your boy than your dad was on you because you don't want to be the same relationship as your dad. It's just how life works. I am a true believer that boys should be boys and girls should be girls, But my girl's also going to be an animal. She's going to start jiu-jitsu this year.
Which I know for an absolute fact. The biggest deterrent from me being in a relationship with a girl is if I say, let's go camping, and she doesn't want to go camping, or she doesn't have, like, I've been on many hiking trips where the girl is wearing pair of white Nike
full
Air
face
Maxes.
of makeup and Air Maxes.
Yes, and for me, that is the worst thing on earth. Is if I want to go away. Like, yes, luxury holidays are cool.
Yeah.
But if we're going away for a weekend and I want to go rough it a little bit, I don't want you to not be able to come with me. Then our relationship's never going to work.
It's like my new chick now. She doesn't really like the outdoors. Me and the boys are going hiking at my friend's private place up in Heighties on Sunday, and take the guns up, shoot a load of shit. And I was like, "You're coming?" And she was like, And I went, "No, you are. It's just part of life with me now." And she was like, "Okay, what do I wear?" And I was like,
yeah, you see the willingness.
Yeah, 100%. She knows that it's better to be involved in it, and because it will make me happy, and I'll do stuff for her that will make her happy.
Yeah, I think it's that give and take of, okay, this is my life. I love these things, and these are my priorities. But sometimes I do need to also understand to prioritize her a bit more over certain things. You know, okay, I really love trail running. I really love
she's
camping.
not going to come and do a 10
really love
kilometer.
things. I don't expect you to come and do a marathon with me.
Yeah, 100%.
But if I...
Come and support me. Come and look at me.
Come and support me. I mean, we're going to Cape Town for the race.
Yeah.
It would be cool if you at least came to the race venue to see me finish or whatever.
100%.
And the same way I'll come and support you at...
doing whatever you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's working on that give and take. And we also live in a society now where it's, you know, this is my life. These are the things that I love. This is how I was raised, and I can't change that because
you have
of some
to be
reason.
flexible. But it's the same as being a dad. You have to be flexible. These things grow. These kids grow. You know, you have to have that flexibility to go, actually, no, she can do that now. She won't kill herself. Do you know what I mean? Have this flexibility of you to change your mindset. And the same, I think if you really love a person and you really get on with the person, I think you want to change for them. Because I know my life is more beneficial with that person, like we were saying, more beneficial with that person in it than without it. Would I enjoy this thing more with her? Yes.
Yeah.
So if she's willing to do that, I'm willing to do that.
Yeah, I think that was a big turning point for me when I realized, okay, I'm actually ready for a relationship. It was, what is the point of success? What is the point of achieving? What is the point of, you know, doing cool things if you're doing it alone?
100%.
Then there's no point. For me, that was just like, okay, you know, I'm not going to actively go out and try find the right one or whatever, but I'm open to the idea of it. Whereas previously I was just grow the business, push, achieve, do that race.
Well, you're getting to the age where you should be settling down. You know what I mean? You want kids by the time you're 35, 36. You know what I mean? You want
to be young enough to still do the things.
100%. I mean, you're always going to be solid because you're fucking a health and fit man. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it's a whirlwind, mate. I think I say this quite a lot. No one tells you how hard it is to be a man. Like, you know, I think it's one of those, we talk about this violence and talk all about shooting and all the fucking crazy shit that's going on. No one prepares you for how difficult it is to be a man. A man that wants to be successful, a man that wants to provide, a man that wants to love, a man that wants to raise children, a man in a world that's just fucking never-endingly chucking shit at you. Do you know what I mean?
And then you're also fighting against yourself because you fight against primal instincts that are contrary to family or contrary to achievement.
100%. My head's always like this constant fucking juggle between the company needs to be more successful. Fuck, I need to spend 3 hours with the kids though. But like you have this like constant battle. And then you just have moments of clarity where my kid will do something cool and I'll be like, oh, fuck the company. Like it's not that important. You know, I can do that when they're older. And it really is, you know, it's a difficult world. It's like, it's not, I think everyone sees people like me or like you in like in this public space where we talk and like, and they think, oh, they've got their shit squared away. No, we're human. I still struggle.
Yeah.
I still find things really difficult. I don't find things difficult that other people might find, but I find the whole postponer of, you know, separating this, having this co-parenting and raising my kids in a different house and there'll be a different man. And I struggle with that and I do daily, but it's also something that's just happening and it's life.
Yeah.
All you can do is adapt to whatever your position you're in and have the ability to adapt and do the best you can. And I think that's whether it's business, relationships, friendships. And if it can't adapt to it, you've got to leave it. You've got to get away from it. You just got to do the best you can do. And I think it's normal. I don't think anyone's happy. I know guys who are billionaires and they're fucking not happy. They'll sit down and have conversations with me and be like, fuck, You know, their problems are just different to mine. They don't have to worry about paying their rent.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Bro, my camera just shut off. So
Okay,
that,
well,
was that was an amazing way to close off, bro. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming through.
Yeah, cheers, buddy. Thank you very much. One day I'll have to have you on mine.
It will be once I'm a bit more
Once you've done hunted,
yes,
gone and killed something.
Once Travis actually plans our trip.
Yeah. Travis, get him out in the bush.